The Beatles were, in the 1960s, part of those who were responsible for dispelling the ghost of a dark post-war once in the history of London. Here began a hedonistic era full of optimism that changed the color of London streets, their soundtrack, vision of life in general. A cultural revolution known as Singing London was coming. In 1960, the English Conservative Party was in power.
And American pop predominated.
The pill broke with a sex without fear of pregnant.
Homosexuality was legalized.
Sensibility in cinema disappeared.
The 60s were responsible for some of the best moments in art, dance, mime, music, and theater.
The Beatles were the reason for this transformation.
When I heard them, my life changed.
Everyone could look like a pop musician. They cut their hair like them.
Wilson saw pop stars are natural allies of the New England.
I liked the Beatles, but I don't want to be a fan of the same band that my grandmother liked, so the Rolling Stones became my favorite band.
In January 1965, thousands of people came to pay respect to Winston Churchill. The funeral was broadcast throughout Europe.
In 1965, the English cultural renaissance was in full swing.
And the Beatles represent the optimism.
Fashion was the most representative, and suddenly the models rose to fame, following in the footsteps of the pop singers.
In the mid-60s, the hairdressers began to rule London. They were the power in the shadows, and if you wanted to meet or go somewhere, you could ask your hairdresser.
The best import item of the time was not the Beatles, but a chair, a plastic chair like the ones we see now in schools. The design of a man named Robin Dalton. It was a new democratic and cheap.
The incipient and crazy creativity had been briefly established as a current. There was an artistic explosion.
It was the final of the World Cup of '66 that gave in another dimension to the concept of New England. The final test arrived in July of '66, in the final where England faced its enemy, and for the first time the soccer players rose to the same category as the pop singers.